afternoon and welcome to the totally official Coffee Talk, like first ever day of Coffee Talk. So I am super excited. If you missed it at the top of the group, I posted the other day how I am going to be popping into the group every single Thursday at 1 o'clock Central Time to do Coffee Talk, where I just sit down with you guys. We all grab our coffees and we discuss things that you guys want to talk about. So I'm really pumped, super excited. I got my cat ears on. I got my coffee. I'm ready to go. By the way, if any of you guys have seen my stock photos, you'll always see a yellow mug in those stock photos. This is that mug. I use it every day and I will cry if I ever break it. So today we are going to be talking about time management and productivity tips because we're all busy and trying to get stuff done, and the struggle is real when you're working multiple jobs or have a family or all of the above. So hey Jamie, what's up? So by the way, you guys, my phone is as old as a dinosaur and it has a really hard time connecting to the internet. I need a new phone. So I'm sorry for the weak connection. I'm sorry if I get blurry, and if the thingy dies, then I'll try and restart it. Okay, so we're talking about time management and productivity, and I'm literally choosing these coffee talks based on what you guys want to talk about. So we are just sitting down together with our coffee. So if there's anything you guys want to talk about or need help on or tips on, whatever, related to blogging or business, let me know below and we will for sure discuss it. Feel free to add your own tips in here today. Feel free to ask questions, leave comments. I'm doing this for I want everyone to just come together and share their time-saving strategies. So I for sure want to hear what works for you below. So I'm going to share what works for me, but I want to know what works for you. Full disclosure, if you've never seen me before, I talk in accents all the time and I don't actually have one, so apologize in advance. Okay, so I'm just going to share with you what works for me, and feel free to just chime in whenever you want with what works for you. So the first thing, you guys, that I highly suggest for being more productive in time management, and I sound like a broken record because I'm always talking about how important it is, but having a business plan, sitting down and creating a business plan for your blog or your creative business, because that is going to make you be more productive, because it's going to give you focus. It's going to give you the overall big picture for what you want to achieve that year and where you want to be at the end of the year, because you don't want to be wasting your time with little tasks that aren't going to do you any good every single day. You want to be making the most of your time by doing little steps that are actually going to move you towards your goal every day. So creating that business plan is going to make sure that everything you're doing every single day is aligned with what you actually want to achieve. So business plan is my number, a little heart, how cute. So having a business plan is my number one foundation for being productive and managing my time. So business plan, and that also includes knowing exactly who your ideal client is. All right. And I've got a handy list too. So what's up, Jessica? Jessica is awesome at cakes. Okay. What's up? Okay. Anyway, so make a business plan. Next thing that has really helped me is making my work time non-negotiable. So you guys, if you work from home, this can be especially hard because there's tons of distractions. If you, it's really easy to just be like, well, I'm home, so I'll just hang out with the family for a little bit or check on this for a little bit or maybe do some dishes here. But what I have found to be really helpful is you have to just block out time if you can, even if it's only 30 minutes, and be like, yo, this is my work time. It is work. It's totally official. I am a business, and you set that aside. You close out all the distractions. You close out Facebook, which is a huge distraction. You close out everything else that distracts you. Turn off your dang phone. Turn off your ringer. No texting. Literally just focus. All right. So make your work time non-negotiable. What's up? Yes, batching. Someone just said batching, and that's one of the things that I do. All right, you guys, using a calendar and a planner. So I am an organization freak, but The bonus to being an organization freak is you save a lot of time because you're organized. So I realize that this does not come naturally to everybody. Some people are like, I'm not into planners, but even if you don't think you're into it, you should just try it. Just go with me here. I think the key is to picking which one works best for you. So like some people find digital planners really helpful. Like Trello is a really popular digital kind of organization tool. By the way, if you guys use planners, I want to know what you use too. But so digital, if that's your thing, I personally don't work well with digital. I have to be tangible. I like to have my pin. I like to have my stickers that I use on my planner. Like I just have to put a pen to paper. So regardless of whether or not you think you can use a planner, try it. Please try it. Huge time saver. And I'm kind of going to show you how I use my planner to organize my thoughts and my goals and my steps and kind of how I break everything down. So what's up? Hey, thank you. Awesome. Okay. So you guys, this is how I use my planner. This is how I organize my day and get shiz done. And I would love to hear your process as well, because I want to learn from you. We want to learn from each other, darling. So get your coffee and your planner. Okay, so this is the planner that I use. It's the one that I actually created. It's on my website. This is not supposed to be a promo for that, but this is one that I actually made. It's the Blog Plus Life planner. And the reason why I created it is because I couldn't find a planner that covered everything as a blogger and entrepreneur and all of that stuff. So it is on my website. But so the way I use my planner is there is a section at the beginning for a business plan. So I already mentioned to you, regardless of whether you use planner or not, you've got to have that business plan because it's going to give you focus, and focus is a key to saving time, okay? So you want to make sure everything you do every single day, no matter how much time you have, it's moving you towards your goals, and your business plan is going to make sure that you're doing that, okay? So I've got my business plan at the beginning, followed by my ideal reader profile. The next thing that I do, so I've got my overall big picture, right, with my business plan. I write down what I want to achieve by the end of the year, kind of some stats on where I hope to be and all of that stuff. Next is every single month, at the beginning of the month, I have like an overview calendar. And most planners have this, regardless of what planner you use. Most calendars have a calendar. Okay, anyway, so at the beginning of the month, I will look at my business plan and I will write down like 3 main goals that I want to achieve for that month. So I'm looking at my business plan and I'm thinking, all right, what 3 things can I do this month that are going to move me towards the ultimate overall goal that my business plan is? So I will break 3 goals down at the beginning of the month. And one thing I have for time management and productivity is to not give yourself too many goals. It's really tempting to get really ambitious and be like, I'm gonna set like 10 goals. And then you just feel like, pardon my language, but you feel like shit when you don't get everything done. So my advice to you, and what I have been doing that works really well, is to choose like even just 1 to 3 main goals each month that you want to accomplish, because that's going to be way easier than overloading yourself with like a billion. So I set my 3 monthly goals, I write it down in the calendar, and I usually have stickers. And the next thing that I do is every single week, at the beginning of the week, I look at those monthly goals and I break those down into weekly goals. So I'm essentially just breaking my goals down further and further and further. So I'm taking those monthly goals and I'm breaking them down by putting in specific tasks every single week. So every single week I have a page that looks like this. There's like a to-do list for business stuff. There's a to-do list for personal stuff. There's an email marketing section. There's a whatever. So every week at the beginning of the week, I write down specific things I want to get done that week. Then at the end of every single workday, I will sit down and make a to-do list for the following day. So my life is like full of lists, but I'm telling you, lists really help because they clear out the clutter. So At the end of every workday, I make a to-do list for the next day. And this helps because it clears out my mind, because if I don't write it down, I'm gonna be going through it in my head over and over and over. It's really annoying. So writing that down clears the clutter from my head, gets it out onto paper, and it allows me to start the next day like ready to go. I'm not waking up in the morning being like, oh, what do I need to do today? Like I already know because my to-do list is created. Brianna, digitally awesome. Brianna is suggesting a cool digital planner. That's awesome, you guys. And really, 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 like there are digital people and there are tangible people. That sounded weird. For me, I just can't do digital. I have to have a pen and paper, but find what works best for you. Okay, so where was I? Oh yes, so at the end of my workday, I make a to-do list for the following day before I break for work. That is like my thing that I do. It's gonna clears my head and it gets me focused first thing the next morning. Okay, so my next thing that I do, there's like so many tips I'm trying to go through. One thing that has worked really well for me is you want to overestimate your time. So when you are planning out your day, I used to try and fit in as much as possible, and the only thing that did was leave me feeling discouraged and like crap because I felt rushed all day, I felt behind all day, and then I felt like poopy duke when I didn't get everything done. So now I have learned to overestimate my time. So I will give myself plenty of time to get the task done, more than I need. That way I feel good. I don't feel behind, I don't feel rushed, and I usually get everything done. So you guys, that works really well for me. And please continue to leave what works well for you below, because I just want everyone to share their tips. This isn't about me. This is coffee talk. I want to hear what you guys do too to save time and be productive. I'm just sharing what works for me in hopes that it will help someone. So I overestimate my time. I also block out my time and work in batches. Someone already mentioned this, but you guys, it is so helpful. So for example, let's say one of my weekly goals is to shoot new photos for my blog, new stock photos. Instead of working on that a little bit every day, like spreading it out over the course of the whole week, I will do it all at the same time on one day. So it's kind of batching all your like tasks together and doing them at the same time rather than just spreading it out over days and days and days. And for me, this works really well because I'm like, I have to get into a mindset when I start working on something. Like, I have to be focused, I have to be thinking about it, I have to be like inspired to do it, and batching it and just doing it all at the same time really helps me to be focused, because when I get into the zone, I get into the zone. So like the same thing with email, you guys. I batch my email. Email can be a huge time killer and a huge non-productive waste. So my next thing that I do is I set up email rules. So I literally check my email one time a day, like literally one time a day. I do not keep it open. I do not leave notifications on my phone. Like I know some people and their email dinger is like constantly going off, and I'm like, how do you do that? That's nuts. So I literally check my email one time a day. That is it. I get into my inbox. I immediately clear out spam messages. I immediately delete trash. I immediately kind of go through all the messages that I know I can respond to in like a minute or less. And then I try to get through as many messages as I can right away that are going to take me longer. So that's kind of how I go through my inbox. But I don't know about you guys. Jamie does it too. If you leave your email open all day, I challenge you, just close it for a week. You will save so much time and sanity. It is a huge time killer to be checking your email all day. Just set aside 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, whatever you have to allot to email, but do not keep it open every day. In fact, I check my email every other day now, unless I am specifically waiting on something time sensitive, and that has helped me a ton to get stuff done, because for me, email is kind of draining. And that's kind of my next tip, is figure out what drains you. There are certain tasks that are easy for you to do, but there's other tasks that are just mentally draining. So for me, email is one of those draining things. I used to check my email every morning, first thing, and then I found that I was really drained, and then I didn't really feel like being creative anymore, and I was just kind of like, ugh, well, I've lost my creative spark. I'm drained after all those emails. I think I'm just gonna go lay on the couch. So figure out what tasks are draining for you and save those until after you've created content. So I have just started doing this thing where I create first thing in the morning. So for me, if I'm creating a blog post or working on a course or doing something that requires like inspiration or like brain juice, I do that first thing in the morning when I'm fresh, before I'm burnt out, before I'm creatively just like bleh. So figure out what drains you and make sure that you are placing that after your, the time where you need to feel the most fresh. Jamie says she's not as awesome as checking Facebook. So, yeah, Facebook, you guys, and I've started doing this thing as well. I'm trying really hard and I love checking in with you guys. It's like extra tempting for me because I love popping in the group, but it's just setting rules on social media in general can be a huge time suck. So like with you guys, with this group, I have set aside 15 minutes every single morning to check into this group. And then I try to limit myself throughout the day. I'm still working on it too, but set boundaries with apps. And I highly recommend when you're working, turn off the notifications, turn off your phone. Let's see. What else? Oh yeah. No, I think I just went over all my tips. So yeah, those are what have been working really well for me, you guys. And also letting people know. So for me, that means I live alone. Poor old me. No, I'm just kidding. But I live by myself with my cat, so I don't have like distractions in the house. But for example, my boyfriend, love him to death, but he always texts me throughout the day and leaves me messages and sometimes wants to do drive-bys. And for me, I have a really hard time. Once I get into the zone and I get interrupted, then it takes me like 20 minutes to get back into the zone. So now what I do is I tell him, all right, I'm going to be working in the zone until 4 o'clock. So just so you know, don't message me, don't text me. So let people know, you guys, if you are getting distracted by people, just let people know, like, hey, I have this 30-minute window, I'm gonna be working, don't text me, don't call on me, don't ask me for anything. I call it going level 10, so let people know. Audrika says her biggest weakness is watching vlogs. Yeah, you should set aside time. Okay, this is another thing about okay, so one of the things I really struggled with last year was content, ingesting like tons of content. I was on Pinterest all the time, reading a ton of blog posts, going to webinars, ingesting all of this stuff. And it was good because I was trying to learn as much as possible, but there came a point where I literally was not getting anything done in my own blog and business. I spent so much time ingesting other people's content that by the end of it all, I just felt overwhelmed and frazzled, and then I started comparing myself, and it kind of led me down this like tornadic spiral of like, well, I'm so burnt out from just reading other people's stuff that I can't even make anything. So what I actually did, and what I still do now, is I took literally like a month break from looking at anyone else's stuff. I did not go on Pinterest. I use Board Booster, so I don't actually have to go on Pinterest. Board Booster is my automated Pinterest scheduler, which is amazing. But I literally did not go to anyone else's blog or do anyone else's content for a month, and I focused on myself. So if you are in the content ingesting spiral where you're like feeling overloaded and all the stuff that's out there, because there's a ton, I would suggest, hopefully you've been like making notes, but make notes of like the top 5 most important things that you've learned from all of that content. Write down the top 5 things that you've learned that are the most important that you want to implement, and then shut everything else down for a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long it takes, and do those 5 things. And then do not allow yourself to go read other people's stuff again until you actually implement 5 things that you've learned. That's something that I did last year that I found really, really helpful, because otherwise you just get stuck in this, reading other people's blogs is good because you need to learn, but you're not gonna get anywhere if you're not actually taking action. So you got to implement just as much as you're learning. You know what I'm saying? Andy says, bam, I was just thinking about picking something and just do it. Yes, you just have got to pick something. So for those of you who have like a shiz ton of Pinterest things pinned, you know who you are. Pick out 5 things that are going to move you towards your goal, your business plan, which you need to make. Pick 5 things that you have learned and shut everything else down until you implement those 5 things. Then you're allowed to go back and start learning again. But I have greatly limited my learning time now, and that has helped me a lot. I focus a lot more on myself, and that actually helps with because we all struggle with, comparing. Who doesn't struggle with comparing yourself to other people, and that was one thing I was struggling with last year. I was constantly comparing myself to other people. Oh, I'm not as good as them, or oh, they're already doing what I want to do, and it kind of it really kills inspiration. It kills creativity. So yeah, limiting yourself and just focusing on yourself is going to help not only with productivity and time, but with your creative spark. Let's see. Okay, I'm trying to read the comments. I want to get it all done, and it's not possible. So how do you prioritize what needs to be done first? Okay, so that's a good question. How do you prioritize? So the first step, I'm going to just kind of go over it again, just to reiterate. But you guys, so the business plan, what you need to make is going to be the overall goal that you want to reach with your business for like a year period. So set aside where do you want to be 12 months from now? So the way I prioritize is once I've made that business plan, and at the beginning of every month, I break down that business plan overall big picture goal into 3 smaller goals or 3 steps. I then go through every single day, and I will write down 5 steps that are going to get me towards that monthly goal. And you just kind of gotta go with, prioritizing is going to depend on what your monthly goal is. So look at your to-do list for that day and think about, is there anything that's really time sensitive? Like, for example, for me today, I'm doing a podcast with ConvertKit next week, and I'm blogging for them, and I had to have a post to them by tomorrow. So for me, I prioritized my to-do list by something that was really time sensitive. So think about things that are time sensitive on your to-do list, like do you have an actual due date that you have to meet? And then think about what is the most important, what is the biggest thing that you think is going to be the most effective in moving you towards that goal that you've set for yourself. So there's a lot of other little things that can eat up a ton of your time. Like checking Facebook and doing your social media and all of that. Oh my gosh, which reminds me, I cannot believe I forgot to mention this. A huge time and sanity saver that I started implementing back in March or February. I can't remember. If you do not automate and schedule your social media, it's I'm just sighing of relief just thinking about it. It is a huge time and sanity saver. So I use Hootsuite, and there's a free version of that. So if you don't want to pay money, you can literally use Hootsuite for 3 social media accounts for free. I know a lot of people Meet Edgar. That's another one. Feel free to share below, you guys, if you schedule your social media, what you use, what you like. But yeah, I use the free version of Hootsuite, and what I do, and it saves a ton of time, is the last week of every month, I will literally schedule the entire next month's worth of social media posts. So in one day, I will literally set aside one day to write, come up with, and schedule all of my social media content. Because before, I was waking up every day and feeling like, oh my gosh, did I post to Facebook today? What am I going to post to Facebook today? Oh, do I have something for Instagram? Well, what about Twitter? Did I remember to pin 50 pins? And then it's just so many things. So doing all of my social media on one day at one time for the entire month, I literally don't have to worry about it every day for the next month. So I schedule out my social media, but then of course you want to you don't want to sound like a robot, right? I schedule my social media, and then I go in and I actually respond to comments or respond to questions. And another tip I have for scheduling your social media is you don't want to just repeat yourself all the time. I do weekly prompts in this group, of course, to get conversation going, but I try to differ in my wording, mix things up. You know, you don't want to, even though you're scheduling your social media, you don't want to sound like a social media robot. So be sure to inject your personality into your social media scheduling and your posts and all of that stuff. Adrika says, how did you get so much content written for your blog? Do you have a batch day specifically for blog writing? Okay. So by the way, we are actually going to be talking about coming up with an effective blog strategy and how to blog consistently next Thursday. That is the topic for next week's coffee talk, which I haven't, excuse me, I haven't had any coffee yet. Okay. 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 So how did I get my blog content? So technically, you guys, a lot of you don't realize I've actually been blogging for 10 years. So I feel really old. My blog has been in many forms. But when I started to do business and blogging, which is where I'm at now, that was a little over a year ago. And I actually did not have very much content. So in the beginning, when I was first trying to, you know, be serious about blogging, I set a schedule for myself, and I was trying to do 5 posts a week, Monday through Friday. And that's what I did for the first 2 weeks until I realized that I did not have time. Like, I was going insane. They were 5 posts a week is intense. So what I also did, though, and that really helped, was an editorial calendar. And we're going to talk about that next week. If you don't do an editorial calendar, you're essentially, maybe like a week or 2 before the following month, you're essentially sitting down and you are planning out the following months. Oh, look at all the little hearts. They're so cute. Anyway, you're essentially planning out ahead of time what you're going to write about for the next month. So you're never left scrambling around at the last minute, because that's a horrible feeling, waking up and being like, oh, I need to get a blog post out today, but what am I going to write about? I don't know. And then that's a recipe to put out slop. So that's one thing that I have always done from the beginning that has been a very big time saver, is an editorial calendar. And again, going back to that business plan that you got to have, you want to always make sure that your blog posts are in line with your business plan and ideal client goals. So every blog post you write should be getting you closer to that goal you picked in your business plan. So that way you're saving time with your editorial calendar, but you're also making sure that it's in line with your purpose and your goals. So no, I never batched, to answer your question, I never batch wrote stuff. My blog posts tend to be very long. So for me, I spend an entire day just writing one blog post. I had one blog post that took me 15 hours to write. So I've never batch written, and that might work well for some people. So if you can do that, that is something to try. But another thing that I would suggest is finding something that works for you. So like for me, I tried 5 blog posts a week and I quickly went insane and found out that that did not work. So then I moved it down to, I think at the time, like 3 posts a week. And then I moved it down to 1 post a week. And now it's more like once a month. So now that I have like content built up. But if you are starting from the beginning and you don't have a big archive, I would just suggest quality over quantity. It's always, for me, quality over quantity. Writing out, pumping out like lots of blog posts just for the sake of trying to get out lots of content. There we go. Pumping out lots of blog posts just for the sake of content, in the end, isn't going to do you favors, because if people, for example, come to your blog from, say, Pinterest, and they click on your pin and they come over and they come to one of your blog posts, if it's kind of just like a filler post that you did in a rush and it kind of sucks, you're going to leave a really bad taste. Like if that's that person's first impression of your blog, you're going to leave a really bad taste in their mouth, and they're probably not going to want to come back. So what I always tell people, people are so concerned, well, how often do I need to post and how many times a week? I would say focus on quality. And especially in the beginning, though, you do want to be consistent, but even once every 2 weeks, you guys, if you are putting out a kick-ass, long, quality-filled post every 2 weeks, that is better than fluffy crap 4 days a week. You know what I mean? So think about it this way. Every single blog post you write, you want to think of it as, well, what what if this is someone's first impression of my blog? What if this is the first blog post that they ever see? Are they going to be impressed? Are they going to want to come back? Are they going to sign up for my email list? So write every blog post with that, thinking about that as your first impression. So anything you pin on Pinterest, you want to lead it to a good quality blog post. Okay, sorry, I got a little off topic, but I'm very passionate about quality over quantity. Should I convert from MailChimp to ConvertKit? Okay, so yes, I'm going to stick on a little longer. I don't want to get totally off topic. For sure, let me know, you guys, what you want to talk about in Coffee Talks, because I am literally doing these based off what you guys want to hear about. So I will answer that question though. Okay, so should you switch from MailChimp to ConvertKit? So ConvertKit is email marketing. It's who I use. So I switched to ConvertKit when I had about 5,000 subscribers. I would say I love ConvertKit. I'm not going to lie. MailChimp is free, I think, for the first 2,000 users, although it's been so long since I've used them. I think they actually charge now for automation. So to answer your question, I think MailChimp is great if you are just starting out and just doing very basic things. However, if you have more than 2,000 subscribers or you want to be doing more complicated things like sequences, online courses, automations, tagging, like all of that stuff, if you want to be doing that, I suggest ConvertKit. I never did that stuff with MailChimp. I think it's more complicated and confusing, and ConvertKit is actually geared towards professional bloggers, and they make it very easy. So ConvertKit is one of the best investments I made. Actually, this year, I just switched in February. So it's one of the best investments that I made. And at the time that I switched, I wasn't even hardly making money yet. I made the leap and as an investment, and it really paid off. So yeah, I suggest moving if you have more than 2,000 subscribers or if you want to be more strategic with your email list building, which I think is really important. So highly recommend them. By the way, I'm doing their podcast on Monday. I'm going to post a link to the group. It's going to be really good. Yay. And yes, okay, yeah. So Alyssa just answered I feel like I just mispronounced your name, but someone already answered the question. Okay, so you guys, that is Coffee Talk. If you have any more questions, comments, feedback, tips or strategies related to time management and productivity, just post them below, you guys. I'm going to be leaving these videos in the group, and I want them to help everyone. So I want to hear what's worked for you guys as well, so that we can all be productive and get stuff done. So I hope some of you guys found this helpful. I would love to hear feedback, because this is the first ever totally raw Coffee Talk. So if you have feedback or suggestions for next week, let me know. And need more hearts. Yes, it's like cowbell except hearts. I need more hearts. I always love the hearts. They make me so happy, and there's so many right now. Oh my gosh, it's like a flock of hearts. I love it. You are super welcome, Stella. I friggin' love this. I'm super excited. So yeah, you guys, every Thursday, 1 p.m., feel free to grab your coffee and come hang out with me. As I said, next week is all about blogging strategy, blogging content, and being consistent and doing your editorial calendar and all of that stuff. It's going to be really juicy. If you have questions about that you want me to answer, feel free to leave those below too, and I'll do some make sure that I'm prepared to answer your questions. But I love these are Coffee Talks. I want you guys to join in. I want you to comment and converse and all of that. I don't want to just be like, look at me with my coffee, you guys don't say anything. Like, I want us to all hang out and stuff. So I'm really excited. You are super welcome, Audrika. Yay, I'm glad you like it. Totally makes my day. There's so many hearts. By the way, I got these cat ears the other day. Aren't they precious? I'm going to start wearing cat ears all the time. I told my boyfriend I wanted to start wearing a unicorn horn yesterday. And he was like, you might want to stick with the cat ears. Do any of you guys wear, animal parts? I think it's totally normal. Okay. All right. Well, I am logging out. Feel free to continue to chat. Feel free to continue to leave comments. I would love to know what works for you. Um, thank you, Megan. I'm like obsessed with cats and animals. Okay, well, speaking of productivity, I'm gonna go back to work for an hour because I have scheduled myself for another hour, and then I have scheduled myself for an hour pinball break, and then I have scheduled myself for more time, so I'm gonna stay on schedule. New day, awesome. My beanie has cat ears. Oh yes, cat ears are the best. Yes, okay, I'm so glad to see that lots of you also like wearing cat ears. That's awesome. Cat beanie, I love it. You guys are so great. Ah! Okay, all right, I'm gonna keep babbling, so I'm gonna go now. But like I said, feel free to keep dropping in your productivity and time management tips. I want to hear them all, yo, and I hope you found some of mine helpful. Okay, guys, see you next week. Mark your calendars for coffee talk. Have your beverage ready, and let's get ready to talk about blog strategy. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.